following show is controversial and contains content you may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
It's Wednesday morning, Wednesday the 7th of November 2018. How are you this morning? I'm Adrian Kennedy, and between now and midday today, this is 98 FM's Dublin Talks, the mid-morning talk and phone-in show for Dublin, by Dublin and about Dublin. If you want to get in contact with us, you can send us an email to dublintalks@98fm.com. You can send us a private message through our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D. What have we got on the programme today? Well, in just a moment, we're going to hear this. I cringe when I hear stories like this. I just really do. Another homeless death on our streets yesterday. And it's funny, the more we hear of stories like this, the less it's actually reported, which really shocks me. We'll hear the details of that. We'll also be, here's a debate I'm sure many of you have had at home. You get married, and she was in a beautiful wedding dress, and that beautiful wedding dress gets hung up in a wardrobe or in the attic and gets left there for years on end to mothball. So should you sell it? Haha. Men seem to have this attitude, sure, get rid of it, yeah. You don't need it anymore. You're never going to wear it again. Women, on the other hand, it's a different ballgame. We're going to find out what side you're on that. Just before 11, I'll be talking to a Dublin City Councillor who is fed up. I don't blame him, actually. I'm fed up myself because I stood in it the other day. He is fed up with the amount of dog owners who don't give a shit about it. What am I talking about? Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Poo. And dog owners. I was speaking to one dog owner earlier who actually takes the dog out. This is a true story. Who takes the dog out, brings a bag, and if the dog has a poo, pretends to pick it up. And her attitude was, I don't want to be picking up and carrying around dog poo. So she actually, if somebody sees her dog having a poo, she pretends to pick up the dog poo, but doesn't actually pick it up. If you're one of those people, I want to talk to you. And then I also want to talk about a shocking figure today, or maybe you don't think it's shocking, maybe you think it's wonderful. Figures today showing that 12% of parents are raising their kids as vegan, with even more raising them as vegetarian. And we're going to find out how you feel about that. All that and much more between now and midday today. And we're live from Dublin City Centre. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. A shocking story yet again that I read earlier today. Gardaí investigating after homeless man is found dead in Dublin city centre. The man in his 40s was found in the Christchurch area of the city. It was 8 o'clock yesterday morning. The man, we understand, is a Polish national. I'm joined on the line by Anthony Flynn from Inner City Helping Homeless. Anthony, welcome to 98 FM.
Morning, Adrian.
Anthony, I mentioned a moment ago that the more these incidents happen, the less they seem to be reported by mainstream media. Tell me what happened to this man.
Well, the man, he was a 45-year-old Polish national who was known to homeless services over the last number of years. He was accessing hostel facilities. There were nights that he would engage with rough sleeping teams if he didn't get a bed or if a bed wasn't available to him. Now, what we're hearing is that the night before he had tried to access a hostel and wasn't able to do so, and he ended up sleeping in the Cook Street area.
And do we know why he wasn't able to do so?
We're still waiting on verification of whether there was beds available left in the system. The system is it's a situation where you have to wait for a 10:30 callback system if you don't get a bed, Adrian, which is a bit ridiculous. You're waiting on people that didn't arrive to a bed before you'll get the second option to get a bed. And a lot of people then decide to stay out because they're not waiting around for the 10:30 callback system. So we're waiting to find out whether or not he, first of all, was offered a bed or whether he was put back onto the 10:30 callback system. But he slept with a friend in the Cook Street area, and obviously the friend had woken up, and staff from a shelter in the vicinity of where he was sleeping actually came across both of the males. We spoke to his friend last night. They had laid a memorial in the area where he passed away. But again, a tragic tragic set of circumstances. And as you said, it is a case now where, are we becoming complacent, or the fact that 2 years ago we saw fire brigade action when we saw a death on the streets outside it all.
And that's exactly the point that I made a moment ago. That I understand that this is it the 27th?
It's 27 in 16 months. Adrian,
is that specifically in Dublin or nationwide?
No, it's nationwide, and in particular over the last month we've had 3 deaths, one in Galway, one in Monaghan, and one in Dublin over the last month. And
is it the case, Anthony, that we're becoming immune to this? That
I think that I asked the question yesterday, Adrian, is it becoming socially acceptable that people are dying in our streets? I don't find it acceptable. I'm sure you don't, and many others don't. But from a point of view of the shock and horror and awe that was Jonathan Curry outside it all 2 years ago, to where we are now 2 years later, where homelessness has become rampant and rife right across the city. Rough sleeper figures are up massively over the last number of months and over the last number of years. And is it a case now where we're finding it acceptable that people are dying on our streets? And then again, is it a case that maybe because Michael was a foreign national that people are not in shock or not in awe of his death? People on the ground that I certainly spoke to over the last 24 hours are, and the Polish community were coming together last night in the area that he died in, later in Memorial. They were in shock and all. But what we're not seeing on the ground is a complete, what we are seeing is a complete lack of the beds that are needed in order to put these people in at night time, and an awful lot of people are forced out onto the streets to sleep rough.
Okay, now this particular man, you say he was Polish. I'm told his name was Michael. Do we know the circumstances surrounding his death?
We haven't got circumstances. Obviously, the coroner's court need to come back. We're not, fully sure of whether he might have had a fall. We have seen, people making comments in regard to it wasn't particularly cold on the night. But, if you see the memorial that was actually, that was put, his friends actually wrote on the memorial, that it was due to the cold, and made comment in regard to the conditions that he had been living in over the last number of months. And obviously that's the weather-bed conditions outside. The memorial actually said, tonight our colleague died of cold and physical exhaustion because he was not allowed into a shelter for homeless people. That's exactly what the memorial said outside.
Okay, now, like we said, this man is from Poland. Mm-hmm. Do we know his circumstances, how long he's been here, or what his work situation was, or how he ended up homeless?
We haven't got full details in regard to how he ended up homeless or on the street, but there is a minority of the Polish community that would have been working through the boom time in Ireland, and I've certainly seen over the last 5 years, and particularly once the recession had hit, that an awful lot of people have been laid off, and an awful lot of those individuals have stayed in the country and are homeless. So we will be dealing with about 35%.
In fact, just on that, I just got a message from somebody called Kevin. And I want to read it to you, and I want to get your reaction. It's quite heartless, if I'm to be honest. But it said, if he is Polish and homeless, what was he doing in Ireland and being a burden on our system? Why not head back to his own country? What do you say to somebody whose instant reaction to hearing this story is to send a text like that?
Well, I think you made the first reaction, which is heartless. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter where the individual is from. We've somebody that has passed away and died, and that's not acceptable in my eyes. In regard to the nationality, and I think that an awful lot of people may use that as a negative. But the fact of the matter is, we're in the European Union. The people are entitled to be in this country and are entitled to work, or entitled to housing or support or benefits or whatever it might be. That within the European Union, and we signed up for that. So what I would say is that about 35 or 38% of the people that we do deal with on the streets are from minority communities or are from foreign national communities that are homeless. And most of those are through no fault of their own, like other individuals that are from Ireland or are from Dublin that find themselves homeless on the streets.
I'm going to ask you the question in a second, but I want to ask our listeners this question in a moment, and I want you to text in your response to 0877 98 98 98. The question is, who do you blame for the 27th homeless person to die in Irish streets in 16 months? Who do you blame? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. I think I know the answer to that question, Anthony, when I put it to you. Who do you blame for these deaths?
It comes, that I am very critical of government and I am very critical of council when it comes into a situation where people are dying on our streets. I do believe that we have a serious lack of support, wraparound supports. And over the last number of months, and even up to 3 weeks ago, I did come out with a press and state that we need 200 beds put into the system. We can't directly blame any one individual in regard to, people dying on the streets. But as a collective, government and council do have to take responsibility in regard to the fact that they should have provision of service. And the cold winter initiative, Adrian, should have started in September. It hasn't been rolled out yet as of yesterday or last night. We are in a situation where we were promised 200 beds into the system for the cold winter initiative, and we haven't seen any of those beds being implemented, and this happens year on year. And I suppose what myself and yourself have probably seen is that we have this conversation, and we have been having this conversation year on year, and particularly when it comes to winter time where we do have deaths on the street. So we should be learning from our mistakes, and central government should be learning from mistakes when it comes to ensuring that the appropriate amount of beds. And again, not every single person is going to use a bed, or there is a cohort of people that don't want to access beds, but for anybody that does, or anybody like Michael that would have wanted a bed, it should be made available to them.
Okay, now there have been many predictions that we could be facing another extremely harsh winter over the next couple of months. That presents major problems for people who end up sleeping rough.
It does, and in particular the fact that we haven't got the cold winter initiative from the Dublin Regional Homeless Executive implemented as of yet. And as I've said, we need at least, in my opinion, 150 beds. The night that Michael died, there was 145 people that were engaged with on the street by our outreach support teams, and they're only the people that we managed to get to, or our teams managed to get to, over the period that we're out. So as weather does get worse, last night it rained right throughout the night. Even this morning, I'm in office this morning, and people are coming knocking on our door from early this morning looking for change of clothes and rain gear and so forth. We haven't got the access to service that we should have, and we go back to let's play the blame game. What we need to be doing is sitting around a table and actually organising correctly and ensuring that we're organising correctly to make sure that these people that don't want to sleep out have access to facilities. And then we have again got a problem in regard to some of the facilities that are out there people don't want to stay in because of rampant drug abuse, substance abuse within those. It's a vicious circle, and we can sit pointing fingers for as long as we like, but the fact of the matter is that we need to get people in. We need to have safety within the units that are available to us, and people shouldn't be forced out onto the streets, Adrian.
All right, Anthony, just finally, and on a more personal level for this man, do we know if any funeral arrangements have been made?
No arrangements yet. We're awaiting instruction, obviously, from the coroner court, or from the guards as well in regard to the body, and obviously the family have to be contacted as well.
All right, Anthony Flynn from Inner City Helping Homeless. Thanks very much indeed for joining us on 98 FM. It really is. I despair when I hear, you expect stuff like this in other countries, but 27 people in 16 months have died on our streets here in Ireland. And a large portion of those have died on the streets in Dublin. And the gas thing is, and I mentioned this, the more it seems to happen, the less it gets reported. This story was reported, but it certainly didn't get the sort of coverage, for example, that the death of Jonathan Corrie would have gotten 2 years ago. We are absolutely becoming immune to this. 27 people in 16 months. That's nearly 2 a month dying on the streets. Chris, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Chris?
Not too bad.
Tell me what you witnessed last Friday night.
Yeah, I was coming home about 11:45 there just on Friday night. I was passing through Suffolk Street. Do you know where the tourist office is opposite the post office? I
do, yes.
Well, there's a portico there. I think it was a former Protestant church. And it kind of overhangs into the street. And there was 5 people rolled up like sausage rolls in sleeping bags, and the dew, that November dew was coming down. Of course, I had my hat on, coat on, and I was headed for a taxi. But as far as I can make out, they've actually turned Dublin into Calcutta, And, the people who run Calcutta have an excuse because they haven't got the money to tackle this. But we're dripping down in Dublin City with money. And according to Mel Reynolds, who was the premier professor on housing, the local authorities are holding on to, land that they could build 25,000 public sector housing units on, but they haven't. They have a political roadblock on it. And it's totally unacceptable. And I think everyone...
I do believe, Chris, that we are partly to blame for this. And what I mean by that is we have become immune to people dying on our streets, let alone sleeping on our streets. Dying on our streets we're immune to. I think that a very large percentage of people just don't give a damn. Absolutely don't care. And because there isn't that public pressure to sort out the problem of people sleeping rough, it's not happening. And I think we're to blame.
Of course we are. And the reason for that is, I bet you have, well, I have, I've been told that my house, I have a share in the house, gone up by maybe 20, 40,000 in the last 24 months. So we have, we try to create a narrative, an excuse for the appalling housing policy of the government, because, we really don't face up to our own moral responsibility for this, because we elected those people who are running the city, running the country, and they've totally neglected this.
But I do put a lot of the blame on politicians, but I also put an awful lot of the blame on ourselves as a society, because every single day, if you work in Dublin city centre, every single day you will see somebody begging. If you go into town early in the morning, as I do, you see people sleeping in doorways and everything else, and you do become, and I think we have become, immune to it. So in other words, we're not demanding action be taken.
Absolutely. And you have to remember that behind this fact of those people who are people hanging out the window, hanging from life, that freeze to death, there's 128,000 working families across the nation who are on low wages and haven't got a monkey's chance of getting a mortgage big enough to get on private housing. And the only solution is nationwide to build public sector housing units. There's no excuse not to start turning the sod immediately on, thousands of those houses. There's a political roadblock. And as Father McVery said, that Fine Gael is totally, incapable of A, grasping the problem, or B, doing anything about it, because their constituency represents the investment in second-rate housing, which, diverts resources from the 23% VAT taxpayers into private landlords, into bad housing. And, that really contributes to the shortage of housing in the city and puts up the prices. And, it's a circle of vice. They haven't done anything about it. And, it looks as if they're not going to, So
all right, but we were sent a picture earlier on, about 10:15 earlier on, from one of our listeners, and it is a photograph. Describe, Chris, what photograph? Stephen, describe the photograph that you sent in to me earlier on.
It's just a young teenage boy. I think he was about 19, 20 when I woke him up. He was absolutely soaking. He was inside a doorway, just beside the SIP2 building there, after O'Connell Bridge. Oh right, yeah. He was soaked, absolutely soaked.
So I'm looking at the picture now, and it is somebody in a sleeping bag in a doorway, and the sleeping bag is absolutely saturated. And the ground is saturated from the weather that we had this morning. And what was his circumstances? I'll
be honest, he was drinking. He was a drinker. I could smell drink off him, but he was only a child. He was only no more than 20 years old. No more than 20.
God love him.
He said he rang the Simon community or something, and he rang Haven House and a few other hostels, and they just couldn't provide a bed for him.
And I can see from your message that you yourself were homeless a few years ago. But do you believe from the time that you were homeless,
it's got worse?
It's gotten dramatically worse.
Oh, 100% worse.
Just out of curiosity then, Stephen, how did you pull yourself out of that vicious cycle of homelessness?
I met my current partner at the moment in a hostel in town about 6 years ago, and we just pulled it together. We just I came from a good family from Dundrum, and they helped me a lot, and so did she. And we're actually renting a house now at the moment. The two of us, and we 2 kids, and we just had enough.
That's fantastic. That's great to hear. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. Is the point?
It's hard.
I get that. Yeah. All right. Good to talk to you, Stephen. And just one last call, Jason. You were in work at 2:00 this morning when it was lashing out of the heavens, and there were 3 people sleeping where?
I'm just on over the boardwalk here, just at the way that chap was saying, just beside Sit2. And the benches on the boardwalk, and they're actually sleeping under it, Adrian, to get out of the way, to get out of the rain.
Sleeping under the benches?
Under the benches. And, it's not just this morning. This is most mornings I start work, and the customs house I can see from here. And there's these sleeping bags rolled up on the windowsills, and they probably head off or whatever, come back for them later. But they're sleeping everywhere. And it's like, as I said in the text, this is why our country is coming to. It's not, if you've seen this, if you went on holidays and seen somebody people like on the streets, you'd feel sorry for them.
The thought of sleeping in the rain we had overnight, under a bench on the boardwalk on the Liffey in the freezing cold and lashing rain.
Well, the night like this morning at 2:30 this morning, it was torrential rain, absolutely torrential rain. And when I climbed up into the crane and my lights come on there and they shine over on the lid, and the 3 of them are sleeping right under the bench.
That's sickening. It really is. It's awful to.
Well, I mean, it's what's going to be done about it? That's the thing. There's only so much the public can do about it.
And there is, but I really maintain this, Jason. I believe that we as a society in general are part of this problem. We're not demanding action be taken. We're not marching on the streets because, in the main, when people see that, we just walk past and don't give a damn.
But they are marching. I mean, they were taking over derelict houses. I know that wasn't the right way of going about it.
Hang on, we're talking about a couple of thousand people. There is 1.2 million people live in Dublin. The rest just don't give a damn.
I mean, there's a page on Facebook. Now, I've lads on the site here that have family and friends that drop stuff down to the house, and they collect hats, gloves, parcels, and we give them to a girl named Adrian on Facebook, and she does the food on a Saturday night. Everybody tries to do little bits, but we can't do it all.
All right, let me just read out one more message. Adrian, every person in Dublin can't be expected to be to help some people when they have to help themselves. I'm not a begrudger, but it's people taking advantage of our welfare system, taking houses that are really needed and being too greedy, and the council being too lazy to move people from houses that aren't needed. Take my mum's case, social house with 5 kids, 3-bed house, fine 20 years ago. Now 1 brother and my mum living in that house. My mum asked to be rehoused to a smaller property to give a bigger family this house, and they refused. Quick break. On the way after that break, something positive news-wise that could actually benefit your community in the run-up to Christmas.
98 FM's Dublin Talks.
With Des Kelly Interiors. New carpets fitted in time for Christmas. DesKelly.ie.
98 FM.
Here's a question for you that I'm sure many of you have had to deal with at one stage or another. If you're married, what happens to the wedding dress after the wedding? Does it get hung up in a wardrobe and left there for years on end to gather dust? Or even put up in the attic and rolled up in a little ball? And if so, why? I want to solve a dilemma, a debate that a husband and wife are having about whether or not you should sell the wedding dress. A lot of women will say that is sacrilege. Absolutely no way do you ever sell the wedding dress. Others believe flog the wedding dress, get a nice new telly. I'd love to hear from you on that, on 6797981. How did you resolve the wedding dress debate? Do you still have your wedding dress after all these years? Call me now on 6797981. I'll come back to that in just a moment. But before that, I love this little story. This is a charity called Walk, and they say that the only way for Santa, his elves, and any special guest to make an entrance is on Walk's Santa Sleigh. This is basically an opportunity for community groups and so on to basically have a Santa arriving in a in a real sleigh with a real horse pulling it. Catherine Kelly is Director of Services at Walk.ie. Catherine, welcome to 98 FM.
Thanks a million for having me this morning.
Tell me a bit more about the Santa sleigh.
Well, it's an amazing sleigh, and what happened was, or where it all came from, is Walk supports people with intellectual disabilities, and they really wanted to give back to their community. And at Christmas time, they were talking about their lives growing up as children, and a lot of people with disabilities can spend time in hospital when they're a child, and some of them didn't get to visit Santa Claus. And we were thinking, how could we solve this? And what we did was we spoke with Santa and we spoke with the elves, and we created a magical Walk winter Santa sleigh. And this sleigh has brought Santa to kids that weren't able to go and visit Santa. So we host a number of corporate events, and the reason that we do that is so we can get funding, and the funding we get from that allows us to do community events for people where we can bring the sleigh and we bring the elves and we visit, the National Children's Hospital, we visit Tala University, the Children's Hospital there, we visit schools where maybe the students wouldn't be able to afford to go and visit Santa Claus, and it's trying to build some magic. We also do an amazing thing which is called a Drive-By Santa.
Okay.
And this is where we go into different sections, housing estates, and we bring sweets and we just drive through, and you see a child suddenly spot the Santa sleigh and go, oh wow, and they start waving, and then loads of the community start coming out, and we give sweets, and it's a great talking point at Christmas. And people have said to us, gosh, I actually got to talk to my neighbour who I hadn't seen in ages. So it's just about trying to build new dreams or new memories.
Okay, so you, on the one hand, you hire it out for commercial use, and you can Santa and the elves can be included, but the funds raised from that then through the commercial hire of your sleigh enables you to provide the sleigh free of charge to local community projects.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so who could contact you? What sort of organisations or groups could contact you with a view to getting the Santa sleigh for their community project?
So any group, basically, where they feel that they have children that aren't able to afford to go and see Santa in the run-up to Christmas. Any groups, I suppose, that are marginalised in society. Or, it can be to a big event people are having. So, like, we always show up to A&E in Tala University Hospital, to the Children's Hospital there. And the children come down from the various wards. And we do that in Crumlin Hospital. And it's just trying to capture it for a child that is not able to go and see Santa Claus.
All right. Well, if you want more information about how your community group could have the Santa sleigh visit, you can check out the website walk.ie. Catherine Kelly, Director of Services at Walk.ie. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on 98 FM. Once again, the website is walk.ie. And I have to say, the Santa sleigh is the real deal. It is. I have two ladies in the studio here. What do you think, girls? Is that the real deal? That's real Santa, is it? Yeah, they agree. So walk.ie if you would like to have this Santa sleigh visit your group or organisation. Now, I want you to help me settle an argument that is going on in one Dublin house. And it's one Dublin house that isn't far removed from us here at the programme, because it's actually Jeremy's house.
I'd say it's happened in a lot of houses, hasn't it?
It is, yeah. It is a debate that has happened in many houses. Explain your situation.
Okay, at the weekend, last weekend we were over in my mother's house and we ended up going into her spare room. She has a spare room. And hanging on the back of the door of my mother's spare room is my wife's wedding dress. And it's all wrapped up and it's been there since she got back from her honeymoon. Back from the wedding, actually, which was abroad.
Which was 5 years ago. Jeez, I couldn't even remember that. Well done, Adrian. Yes, we're married 5 years, is it?
Yep. We're married 5 years. And I turned around to my wife after we were in my mother's house and I said, you know what, Sue? I said, that wedding dress is hanging on the back of my mother's door for 5 years. It's doing nothing. It's gathering dust. Is there any chance we could get rid of it and get a new television. The television we have is quite old, and there's a new television that I showed you a picture of the television earlier.
Yeah, it's mega, yeah.
It's a Samsung curved television, and the wedding dress would go pretty much towards paying for that television. And she said straight away, no, not a hope, it's sentimental value. And I said, you're never going to wear it again. If you divorce me and get married again, you're not going to get married in that dress.
No.
I'd like to think she won't.
No,
anyway.
she wouldn't. Of course not. No.
We do not need the dress. It's literally hanging on the back of the door in the spare room in my mother's house, gathering dust. It's worth absolutely nothing. The more we hang on to it, the more it will devalue in price. And I said to her, listen, I want this new television that's just come out, curved screen Samsung television. It will pay, I'd say, for about 3/4 of that. We'll get rid of the dress, we'll have a brand new television, and she is having absolutely none of it. And I need to try and convince her, and this is where I need your help.
One of our listeners just texted in. This is, he signed it Dalich, and it says, knowing what it's like living with him, I'd say she will be needing it again.
That's the terrible thing to say. No woman wears a dress when they're marrying another man.
The same dress again?
No, I would assume if she divorces me and marries again, she's not going to say to her new husband, by the way, I have an old dress there that I wore to Jeremy's wedding. I'm going to be wearing that to our wedding. No, that's not going to happen.
Okay, so you want to know what the deal is. She says, no, leave it hanging on the door for years to come.
But she has no other argument to it other than its sentimental value. And I'm like, Jesus, do you keep the trousers we wore on our first date? You know, you wore a top on your first date. Did you hang on to that? No. I'm not a sentimental man. I want this new Samsung television. And by the way, the price I'll get for the dress is fairly... I put it up on... No, I didn't tell her this. I put it up on Done Deal there yesterday to see if anybody would fish around for it. And let's just say...
Oh, does she know you did that?
No, she doesn't.
Oh,
no.
right. So did you put a photograph of it?
Yeah, of course I did.
On Done Deal?
To test the waters.
And would you get the money for the telly?
No. It'll pay for just over half the price of the telly.
Right. Okay, so...
Actually, I better take that ad down.
You better. Okay, we'd like to hear from you and help settle this argument. 0877 98 98 98. Now, I did say to you earlier on that my missus, we got married last Christmas, and she donated her wedding dress to a charity shop.
And that's commendable. Fair play to her, but I need this new television.
Oh, right.
I really do. I showed you the television. What was the first thing you said to me?
I need one myself. Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful television. Television's more practical than the wedding dress.
Okay, call us right now on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. Yes or no? Sell the wedding dress.
And with a better argument then, because that's what I said to my wife the other day, a better argument than sentimental value. Because if that's the case, you should keep everything. You know,
I know, but the wedding day is.
But I don't have my suit for my wedding day. I went back to the shop.
Oh yeah.
Do you have anything from your wedding day?
No, I still have the suit because I bought it.
Oh, we rented.
No, I bought it.
Very posh.
Yeah. Okay, quick break. We're back in just a moment.
98 FM's Dublin Talks.
With Des Kelly Interiors. Delivering your new bed in time for Christmas. DesKelly.ie.
98 FM.
To sell or not to sell? That is the question. This is a debate that many couples have about whether or not you get rid of the wedding dress. What use is it keeping the wedding dress? It serves no useful purpose at all. You're never going to wear it again. So why keep the wedding dress? This is a debate that our Jeremy has been having with Mrs. Jeremy, and it's divided opinion. He wants to flog it to buy a new telly. He reckons it'll go halfway towards this mega new telly that he wants to get.
Well, there was huge interest when I put it up on Done Deal. So obviously a lot of people want to buy second-hand wedding dresses, which is cool.
Yeah,
so
that's cool, yeah.
So it's a seller's market is what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
So we could have a brand new...
It's only a seller's market if you can sell it.
Yeah, no, but I can't sell it. No.
Sinead, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Sinead.
Hi, how are you?
Sinead, to sell or not to sell?
Not to sell for me.
Why?
Anyway, well, I have 3 daughters. Now, I had one daughter when I got married 10 years ago. She's now 20. But I have 2 more daughters. One of them might want it if they ever get married. So, I mean, I have...
So what? They get married in their L one's dress?
You never know. They might want part of it. I mightn't be around for when one of them gets married. They might want a part of me with them. When they're getting married, they may never use it. But I don't think I could sell it. It's 10 years
But okay,
now.
but by the time, say, one of your daughters gets married, it will probably be a bit outdated, will it not? I'm not saying your dress is old-fashioned. I don't know your dress. But
That's kind of what you were saying, though.
No, but in 20 years it probably will be.
No, but I don't know much about wedding dresses, Sinead. I've only ever seen one on my wife, but they don't age, do they? Do they get out of fashion?
They do.
Oh, do they?
Certain styles would, I'd say, but mine was quite, you look back at the 80s and there's the big poofy sleeves, but there's none of that. It's just, a strapless long one, so... it's not white.
So you're keeping it on the off chance that your daughter might want it. But what if she says, no, man, go away, will you? That's really ancient. That's from the noughties, like.
I suppose then it'll just be dumped at some stage. I'll be honest with you, it has never really been looked after. It is literally rolled in a ball. I threw it into the washing machine last year. Actually, no, this year, at the start of the year, I had been in a cubby hole. But no, I never even brought it to be dry cleaned.
Right. So did you spend? No, you don't have to tell us exactly how much, but did you spend a lot of money?
€1,400 10 years ago. So
I'd say you'd get about 400 for that now.
I doubt I'd even get that. That's another thing. I don't want to be giving it for absolutely nothing either. I know it's just doing nothing up in my room, but
put it this way, Sinead, I put the dress up on Dundeal and put it up for a certain price, and let's just say, it's more than 400 quid that I could probably get for this. Well, we could probably get for this dress. That's a fair amount of money,
I suppose. But then you have people coming into your house to try on this dress, and you'd have strangers, because they'd have to be tried on first.
No, the point is we don't have a daughter, okay? And if we do have one in the future, by the time she's at wedding age, that dress will be obsolete, so that's not an option. So I need you to tell me why she should hold on to it in one sentence, because she can't even tell me that.
Sentimental value.
Sentimental me eye.
Well, my 20-year-old daughter tried it on there when we took it out.
Yeah.
There, I'd say it was May, and it fit her. So she had a little parade in it. And actually, my kids, except for my oldest daughter, they weren't there when we got married. So it was nice. We actually put the baby on the train and took a picture. So, I don't know. It's nice to take out every now and again and have a look and see if it still fits you.
But I even said that to her when we were in my mother's house the other day. I says, why don't you try it on and we'll take some fun photographs? No, sure, the wedding was 5 years ago. There's no point to put it on. So she doesn't
even want to try it on again.
I don't know.
Is she afraid it won't fit her?
I don't know. It's like people who buy art. No, of course it would fit her. It's like these people who buy art in their house. Why did you buy an expensive painting for your wall? Just so I can look at it every day. Pointless.
All right. So you haven't even thought about getting rid of it?
No.
Okay. Has anybody actually sold their wedding dress? I haven't heard, not one person has contacted us to say, I flogged mine and I bought a new car or bought a new telly.
I don't think you will find a woman that does that, because it's sentimental, isn't it?
Oh, apparently one person contacted us.
Yes.
They used the wedding dress for a holiday, but was too embarrassed to discuss it on the radio.
What's embarrassing about that?
I have no idea. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. To sell or not to sell? That is the question. We're talking about the wedding dress. Jay, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Jay?
Morning, Adrian.
Morning, Jay. How are you?
I'm good.
Now, Jay, your aunt used her wedding dress for what?
She cut it up and had a shawl or gown type thing made that she used for the christening of all her children.
Oh, right, okay. So she chopped it up.
Yeah, brought to a tailor or whatever.
Yeah, and they made it into a christening gown.
Yeah.
And used it for all of the kids.
All our kids. And our grandkids even.
Oh, and our grandkids. All right, okay.
Yeah.
And, okay, that's a good use for it.
Well, no,
why didn't you do that?
But this is the bizarre thing, Jay. When our child was at the age to get christened, I turned around to the missus and I said, Luke's christening is coming up. You've a wedding dress hanging up in my ma's house. Do you want to get it cut up? No, my mother has a gown. So she got the gown from her own mother.
Well, there you go. Still the same thing. So sell the thing. Get the telly. Go on.
Yeah.
But I can't. I can't.
I only bought a telly a while ago myself.
Isn't it the most beautiful thing you can ever buy is a television?
Oh,
relax there, will you?
65-inch, 4K, Ultra HD. You know what I mean?
Honestly,
that's the one he was looking at as well.
Yeah, I'd nearly swap me kid.
Oh, no, we didn't go for the curved one, though.
I'd nearly bring me child into Harvey Norman's and say, you can have me kid as well, and just give me that telly. That's how nice it is. But women don't understand that, Jay. They don't understand the appeal that a television has to a man. When I see a television in a shop, something comes over me.
I know what you mean. It's kind of like something kind of firms up within you.
Well, no, relax. It's only a television there, Jay.
Okay, but you reckon unless you're going to use it for something, and in your case, she didn't even use it as a
she
christening
didn't even use
gown.
it as Luke's christening gown, no.
Okay, just flog the bloody thing. That's really what we're trying to find out. Colette, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Colette.
How you doing?
Colette, you would never get rid of the wedding dress.
No.
Why?
Sentimental.
Yeah. Okay, now where is it?
Hanging in my wardrobe.
It's hanging in your wardrobe. How often do you
look at the dress? I remember. Why did I say yes to you?
In fact, that's probably why my wife's using it for as well.
Right, so God, romance is alive and well. So okay, it's hanging up in your wardrobe. Have you ever tried it on?
Wouldn't fit. God,
no, doesn't fit, right?
Doesn't fit.
Did you use it as a christening gown?
No, but what I wanted to do was to use it, get made for a Holy Communion dress for my daughter, but that didn't turn out. I got her own.
Right, and so why are you keeping it?
Sentimental, Adrian. Sentimental. Yeah.
You see, okay.
But you probably still have your phone book from the 1980s as well, do you?
No.
Oh, okay, you got rid of that.
So what else do you keep for sentimental reasons, or is that it?
Well, the christening gowns, we do daughters' christening gowns, their communion dresses, their veils, their prayer books, all them little sentimental things.
And I get little things.
Yeah, like I have my son's umbilical cord still.
Really?
Yeah.
Ew.
What?
You have me feeling ill now.
Oh,
God.
It's in a jar.
Oh, that's disgusting.
What's this?
Yeah. No, thank you.
That's it, Colette. I'm going to take a photograph and put it up on her Facebook page.
Anyhow, sorry, I get little things like maybe your child's first pair of shoes or whatever. I understand all of that. But the wedding dress is taking up loads of room in your wardrobe.
You want to get rid of the wedding dress so you can buy a TV.
Well, Jeremy does, yeah.
Yeah.
She ain't going to do that yet.
But yes, and I explained to her. I said, you'll be able to watch EastEnders in 4K definition, and that meant nothing to her.
Didn't it?
No, because you want the TV.
No, I want a TV, but the whole trick of a marriage, Colette, is to try and convince a woman that she needs something that you actually need. So I'm trying to convince her at the moment that she needs this television.
Well, you need to rephrase it around. You don't convince her that she needs it.
So how do I convince her that she needs it?
You need to convince her to keep the wedding dress. It's lovely. Let's do the opposite.
Okay, so mind reversal or whatever it's called.
Yeah, you reverse it around.
Okay, so I tell her, listen, keep the wedding dress. I think it's lovely. We should hang it up every day.
Hang it up, yeah.
And then she'll change her mind and get rid of it.
Change her mind, you reverse it. You don't tell it. You don't convince a woman.
No, reverse psychology doesn't work with my wife at all.
Okay, why would you not donate it to a charity shop?
Who, me?
No, Colette.
No.
Because I donated my wedding dress, says this message, to Bernardo's straight after the honeymoon, says Mary. And I mentioned earlier on that my missus did the exact same thing. It wasn't to Bernardo's. I'm not actually sure what charity.
Was that at your behest?
No. She did it all by herself. I didn't even know she had done it until she'd done it.
Oh, she didn't even tell you she got rid of it?
She didn't even tell me she did it. Yeah. Angela, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Angela.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Angela. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Now, Angela, your wedding dress has been worn 3 times.
Yeah, I got married in August 2010 and I'm a wedding planner and I organise bridal charity fundraising balls for Aveen's Pink Tie. And my next one now was November next year. And I think if you're going to spend probably the guts of over €1,000 on something, you should get the benefit out of it. And I'm doing my 3rd one now next year in County Meath, and a lot of the ladies really welcome the opportunity to get it back into the dress or formal wear, and it's all for a good cause.
So, sorry, you loan the dress, do you?
No, you wear your own wedding dress to the event.
Oh, I'm confused now. Hang on. You wear your own wedding dress to this event?
A charity event, yeah. It's a gala fundraising ball.
I see. Right. Okay, so you have worn it lots of times.
Yeah, I went to one in Waterford a few years ago, and I've started to do my own. This is my third one now next year. And ladies can wear their wedding dresses, women can wear bridesmaids, debs, the men get into suits. And because it's for Aveen's Pink Tie, it's a children's cancer charity to do with Crumlin. A lot of the colours involved is pinks. And
very good.
The pink accessory, a lot of the ladies and gentlemen that go to these events wear pink accessories, and the reason for that is little Adrian, whose charity it's for, she passed away when she was 8, and her favourite colour was pink. And the CEO, Jimmy Norman, set it up in her memory a few years ago, and I heavily support the charity myself. So the next event now is November next year in County Meath, and it's already in the planning stages. So it's really good fun, and last time I raised about $5,000. So this time I'm hoping to maybe double that figure, all for the kids in the Crumlin.
That's fantastic. If anybody wants to find out more information, Angela, where do they go?
Sapphire Weddings and Events, SWAE.ie.
Very good. Well done. Thanks very much indeed. Now, Harriet, you got married 15 years ago, and you put your wedding dress on every year for your anniversary.
Yeah, I love my wedding dress. I don't understand why everyone wouldn't wear their wedding dress every year. It's brilliant.
And what do you do in your dress? Like, do you go out for...
I walk around the house. I've cooked in it. There's a 50-year-old cat leaning on it. The cats go for a ride on the back of it. I love my dress. I adore it. I call it my old lady. It lives in a drawer. It takes up a whole drawer, and I'm mad about it.
Harriet, we need to see a video of your cats dragging around on the back of your wedding dress.
I can send you one. I have one.
That's brilliant. Okay, so no to selling the dress.
Oh God, not a million years.
Not in a million years. Okay. And what about when the dress is just hanging on the back of a door for years, doing nothing?
No, but it never will.
No, I'm not talking about yours. I'm talking about, for example, Jeremy's missus.
I don't understand that. I don't understand. I mean, that would just be so depressing.
Okay, so get the dress out, have a party,
and let the cat walk. And in fact, we got a photograph sent in to us a few minutes ago of a woman who puts her dress on regularly, and there she is bouncing up and down the trampoline out the back garden of it.
Me.
Oh, that's you, is it?
I'd say, Harriet, and I don't mean to be mean here, I'd say there's some bang off the dress now at this stage with the cats.
Well, it got a little bit ripped at the bottom once, and I did a wedding dress like everyone came around for dinner in their wedding dresses and stuff, and it was wet, so were wellies as well.
So you had a party where everyone came around in their wedding dresses?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, okay. Thanks very much, Harriet.
Quite eccentric, isn't it?
This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. Live and exclusive to Dublin's 98 FM, Monday through Friday between 10 and midday. This is Adrian Kennedy. You're with 98 FM's Dublin Talks. And Trish is here with Wednesday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. Parents of children at 2 Dublin schools have been inspecting safety works at the buildings after structural issues were found. Tyrrellstown Educate Together and St Luke's National School were closed 2 weeks ago. They are 2 of 42 schools built by Western Building Systems that have been examined. St Luke's will reopen tomorrow, while no decision has yet been made on when Tyrrellstown Educate Together will reopen. There's good and bad news for Donald Trump following midterm elections in the US. The president's opposition, the Democratic Party, has won back control of the House of Representatives. It means they can block and delay laws he wants to make, but his Republicans are still in charge of the Senate. Heavy rain in Dublin has caused major delays this morning. Intense bursts of rain will continue to fall throughout the morning, with excess water building up on roads. However, the rain will clear off in the early afternoon. And up to 5,000 US visas could be made available to Irish citizens. It's part of a new bill which was presented to Congress recently. Only Australian citizens can apply for the E3. However, as the full allocation is not taken up each year, it's led to the possibility of opening it up to other countries. And now up to date on 98.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
It's Wednesday morning. I hope everything is good in your world. I'm Adrian Kennedy, and between now and midday today, this is 98 FM's Dublin Talks, the mid-morning talk and phone-in show for Dublin, by Dublin, and about Dublin. We were talking just a moment ago about about the wedding dress and the lady who what was that lady's name who takes her wedding dress out every year? Harriet has just sent me a video of the cat on the back of her wedding dress, and with her permission we'll put that up on Facebook a little bit later on. Look at the cat. There's the cat, Jeremy. There he is. Look, he's on the wedding dress.
Oh, it's actually true.
It's actually true, yeah.
But the cat is grabbing the dress.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go. Thanks very much, Harriet. Love it. Now, next on the programme, a Dublin City Councillor is going nuts over dog poo. He says that not enough is being done to tackle dog fouling on the streets of Dublin. Now, the figures he has seem to back this up. Only 131 fines for dog fouling were handed out between 2014 and 2017, which is very, very low. Of those fines that were handed out, only 82 dog owners actually paid the bloody fine. And so far this year, only 4 fines have been handed to dog owners, when clearly there are thousands of dog owners who aren't picking up after their dogs. Here is an advert that many of you will be familiar with. This is how big a problem this is, that the local authorities have had to put an advert on the radio.
You'll never guess what happened to my new shoes. What? Got stinky dog poo all over them. I had to throw them in the bin.
That's nothing. Guess what happened to my wheelchair? Be a responsible dog owner. Bag it, bin it, leave only paw prints. Brought to you by South Dublin County Council.
Dog poo, dog poo, dog poo, dog poo. I have never met anyone who was happy to find it on his shoe. How about you?
Now, that ad ran last year and is running again this year, as you heard, sponsored by South Dublin County Council. And I'm joined on the line by Green Party Councillor Patrick Costello. Patrick, this is something that is really annoying you.
It's not just annoying me. Anytime I go canvassing, it always comes up on the doors. Anytime I go to a meeting of a residents' association, it always comes up. This is a huge issue across the city and for all our citizens. So it's not just annoying me. And in fairness, this is more than just a litter problem. This is a public health problem.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second, because I was talking to a colleague that I won't name earlier on today, who was describing how she takes the dog out for a walk and she doesn't pick up the dog's poo. She might pretend to, but she doesn't. She doesn't want to be walking around with a bag of poo. Tell us the dangers, Patrick, of leaving dog's poo. And in fact, I think I even think that ad kind of makes it sound a bit more polite than it is. It's actually dog shit. It's disgusting, filthy, smelly stuff, and we need to call it as it is. What are
your colleague clearly isn't alone, and what I find amazing is you see people who pick it up, who bag it, and then neatly hang the bag in a tree.
Yeah.
That's not really picking up after your dog.
No, it's not really.
Dog shit contains parasites. Dog shit contains worms and other parasites. Dog shit contains bacteria and all sorts of diseases with multi-syllable names.
Well, in fact, this colleague of mine said,
can lead to blindness.
Okay, but this colleague said, my dog doesn't have any diseases.
But the thing is, you don't know, because they're not going to cause symptoms in the dogs. But if a kid gets it on their hands and plays with it and ends up ingesting it, then they could get very sick and even lead to blindness. So we're putting a huge risk out there, and it is filthy and it is dirty, as it says. There was a story of people using wheelchairs and to disinfect their hands constantly because of rolling through it, and other people just not picking up after it. It is filthy, it is dirty, and it is a health risk.
And I think your colleague hit on something there. She doesn't want to pick it up and then throw it in and be left carrying it around. And if you look at our parks in Dublin City, we don't have enough dog bins. So, I think if we're going to do something...
And I would agree with you that there aren't enough dog bins. I still find that a pathetic excuse, though, for not picking it up. We bring our dogs out, we bring a plastic bag, we bring rubber, the rubber gloves with us, and we pick it up. And if we have to walk for miles with the bag, so what? It's, you wrap a knot in the bag and carry it.
I'd agree with you on that one, but I think if you're trying to get people to change their behaviour, you have to make it easy for them. And I think if we're going to do something more about it, we need to make it easier for them. And look, there's lots of little things we can do, and one of them is getting more bins into parks. One of them is giving out free bags in the parks, so that people aren't left caught without a bag and that they don't have to carry the bag around with them. There's two simple things we could do to try and make this better. Like, if you look at the numbers as well, there's a huge variation across the city. So the South Central area gave out more fines than most other area, all the other areas combined. And they had a big project with the guards, paying overtime, getting more staff in and getting out there and getting more fines and getting more people to pay the fines.
Now, fines are being handed out, although I was shocked to hear that only 4 fines have been handed out to dog owners this year, when clearly there are thousands of dog owners doing this on a daily basis.
There's lots of difficulties. Part of it is catching the people, and then part of it is proving whose dog it belongs to. Because if you come up on us in the middle of a park and there's 3 or 4 dogs running around, who do you give the fine to? So there's lots of issues here, and the South Central area dealt with them by getting extra staff in and giving more staff and more resources to the problem. So that's another thing that we need to be doing.
What sort of fines would you? In what way do we get more serious? Do we start handing out bigger fines? Because, I was reading as well that of the fines that were handed out, only 82 actually paid up.
Yeah, like, the thing is, if there's a risk, when people are looking at that dog poo, they're thinking in their head, what's the risk of getting caught? What's the problem if I do get caught? And if the risk we clearly see from these numbers is quite low. So you need to make the consequences really big. And that'll change the way people think about it. Like, look at mobile phones, mobile phones and car use. The fine for that is huge. Like, clearly the risk of getting caught, because everyone's still doing it, is really low. But more people are thinking, well, look, I know I won't get caught, but that's a huge fine and I don't want to pay it. So I think we do need to increase the fines. But I think we also need to, and that can then fund getting more people out, more staff, litter wardens out, giving out more fines. But I think also we need to look at creative ways. There was a park in Spain that gave out free Wi-Fi, and the strength of the Wi-Fi signal was based on the weight of dog poo in the bin. So the more people who picked up after their dogs, the better the Wi-Fi in the park. Yeah, so you're incentivizing good behaviour as well as punishing bad behaviour. And as I say, you need to make it easier for people. So we need to be looking at giving out the bags for free, giving out and making sure there's somewhere to put the bag instead of hanging it on a tree or having to carry it around with you.
Right, okay, but like I said, it is such a continually ongoing problem that the likes of South Dublin County Council have had to take to the airwaves for the 2nd year in a row to remind people dog poo, nobody wants it on their shoe.
Yeah, and this is, I think that just shows, like, I'd love to see the same numbers from, like, mine are only Dublin City. I'd love to see the same numbers from South Dublin County Council, and I look in Cork, they gave out 4 fines in the last 21 years. So, Dublin's a lot better than Cork in lots of ways, but certainly, like, when it comes to dog shit, they're getting the same amount of fines we gave this year was them in 21 years. So there's a general problem here.
And one that we're not treating seriously enough.
I don't think we are, no. But I think also, look, it's about creativity. It's about encouraging people to do the right thing while at the same time punishing the bad behaviour. If you look at Dublin City Council, they've been rolling out these dog shows in local parks, and they use them to educate people about the importance of picking up after their dogs. And this is a positive way of engaging with people to change behaviour without, in a positive way, encouraging good behaviour. So I think we need to look at all these creative things as well. So I'm going to be meeting with the officials now later this week, and trying to see what we can do, So hopefully I'll be able to come back to you with a few changes or a few creative ideas that we can drive through Dublin City.
All right. Good to talk to you. Councillor Patrick Costello, thanks very much indeed for joining us on 98 FM. I'd like to hear from you on 6797981. Text or WhatsApp us on 0877 98 98 98. How bad is the problem of dog poo in your area? Are you one of those dog owners, like my colleague, who, by the way, when I suggested going on the air, said, "Oh, absolutely no way"? Yes, this is a person who takes the dog out for a walk regularly, brings a plastic bag to look the part. When the dog has a poo, pretends to pick it up and actually doesn't. And then strolls on with the plastic bag and leaves the poo behind. That's not a word of a lie, by the way. That's a true story. And this particular colleague is too embarrassed to admit that. But that's what I was told earlier on. I'd love to hear from you. Are you somebody who just doesn't give a damn, who just leaves the dog poo behind? Call me right now on 6797981. Toxocariasis, I think is how you pronounce it, is a disease that is picked up from dog poo. It still causes partial blindness in dozens of children every year. It causes an infestation in humans, usually children, with larvae, a small thread-like worm that resides in a dog's intestine. A dog harbouring the small round worm causes large numbers of worm eggs in its feces, which can then contaminate the soil. Children who then play with an infested dog or with soil contaminated with its feces can then inadvertently put their fingers in their mouths and swallow some of the worm eggs. The swallowed eggs hatch in the intestine of the child to liberate larvae, which then travels towards the liver, lungs, brain and eyes. That colleague of mine I know is listening right now. Shame on you if you leave poo around and risk that sort of infection in a young child, just because you couldn't be arsed picking up the poo. And by the way, that's a female colleague, I've been asked to say. Okay. Adam, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Adam?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks, Adam. Adam, I read out the details of that condition, toxocariasis, or whatever it's called, merely to highlight how dangerous this actually is. You see this every single day.
Yeah, I live on a terrace and there's a park out the front. So a lot of the flats next to me, the people let their dog run out in the morning, shit, and then come back inside like they own the park, and it really drives me up the wall.
So not even in their own garden?
No, because they have like flats and old terraced houses, so they don't really have garden.
Oh, right, so they just let the dog out?
Yeah.
Is it a public park or it's kind of a common area, is it?
Yeah, it's a public park.
It's a public park. Let the dog out because they're living in an apartment to do his business first thing in the morning.
Yeah, and I don't want to say anything because I don't want to start anything with the neighbours.
No, I get that, but that's what they're doing.
Yeah, it's like they think, it's part of their apartment, it's their grass, their lawn, I don't know. The guy looks like in his 50s and 60s, so I don't know how things were different back then. I don't know. But I think it's particularly. I think
we've always known how dangerous dog poo is. It's not even forget about the danger, even just how bloody disgusting it is.
I know. I see a lot of people that just aren't watching their dogs close enough. Like they're having conversations with their girlfriends or friends or something, and the dog's crapping behind their back. And you just got to watch your dog more too.
Yeah. So, what do you say to people? I know you don't want to start anything specifically with a neighbour or whatever, but this really bugs you.
Yeah, and if I see someone's dog crapping and they're not watching or something, I'll yell out to them. I'll say, "Hey, your dog's taking a dump," and I'll give them a bag if they don't even have one. And some people, you can tell, just don't want to pick it up, and I don't want to step on it, and I don't wish anyone else to step on it.
No, and most of us probably have at one stage or another, and it is disgusting having to clean it off your shoes. It's horrible.
I see a lot of children too, like young teenagers, taking out the family dog, and they don't pick it up because I don't think they're really educated on it.
All All right, stay there for 1 second, Adam. 6797981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Lads, the law in the UK is if you don't have bags at all, you get the fine. Never mind. I forgot them. That's a fine alone. So why not introduce that? I'm a dog person and do pick up in public areas. I have children, so regularly disinfect my gardens because I know the risk of dog mess to my kids. People just play stupid. I forgot the bags. Well, here's a fine for that, says that message. I'd love to hear from you on 6797981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98. Peter, you believe that we need to get more serious about this, basically.
Yep. Every time there's a dog camp park down the road from us, every single time I bring the kids down on their bikes or their scooters, they put these special gates on to stop motorbikes getting into the park, which is ironic because the motorbikes still get into the park. But right at these gates all the time, every single day, Crunchock Meadows entrance is where this gate is, and every single time you go there, I guarantee it, right at the entrance there's going to be at least 3 piles of shit, and then all the grass verges, people don't pick the grass verge along the fence of the park, and then there's the
in fact, I spoke to one person recently who let their dog poo on the grass because, well, it'll biodegrade or it'll disappear in the rain or whatever. It doesn't.
Yeah, it biodegrades, yeah. When it's on my kids' bikes, the tires of my kids' bikes, and we have to go home and wash the blades of bikes down to smell the shit off it. Do you know what I mean?
I even know we let our dogs go out the back garden, but I clean up the back garden once a week, and my God, there's some amount of poo in our back garden once a week, but I do clean it all up.
No kids, your back though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the point. Would you leave a load of poo in your own back garden? No, you wouldn't, unless you're a filthy animal. But you wouldn't leave it in your own back garden. So why is it okay to leave it in a public park?
It isn't okay, and the worst day is today is like today where it's raining. Everybody's like, I can't bring the kids out in the rain. We put rain suits on them, rubber suits, jumping them up and do what you want. And I guarantee you go down to the park today, and it's sunny days where there's lots of people, and people think, someone will see me if I don't pick her up. It's days like today as you go down to the park, people don't care, they just keep walking because there isn't many people around.
Right, I got a message just a moment ago, and it says, I caught a man letting a dog poo in my front garden. I ran out with a bag and I was told to F off. Free bags incentive, more bins will not make disgusting humans pick up dirt. And I think you're right. Are you one of those people who allows your dog to poo wherever he feels like it and just leave it there? Call me right now on 6797 981.
98 FM's Dublin Talks.
With Des Kelly Interiors. Delivering your new mattress in time for Christmas. DesKelly.ie.
98 FM.
Now, John, tell me the problem that you have when it came to dog poo.
Well, the problem I had, Adrian, is that a man kept bringing his dog up to the area, letting his dog go to the toilet and not picking up after it. He went in the garden and stood there looking at it, and I picked her up in a bag and put her away, and then I seen him let the dog go to the toilet at the bus stop outside our house, and a woman with a young girl that made a communion, she had these little white slipper type things, and she was white as a snow, pure clean, but it was a rainy day, and she put her foot into it, and it went right up into the sock and the shoe and the whole thing, and I knew it was this man. I seen it, and a taxi driver, she stopped the taxi because the bus wasn't coming, and the taxi stopped as this happened, and we went out and helped out and cleaned it. And she was actually very patient. She said, we're finished, and she had a spare pair of runners, so I didn't mind, she wasn't in that. She was cleaned up and clean, but I was fuming. I was sick of this nonsense. Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening to you. Yeah.
This man, and then again, he did it again outside, and I ran out and I said to him, pick that up, that's you, and he didn't. I said, you, and so I just scooped it up and I smacked it into his head, into the back of his head, into his hair. And he went berserk and said, what the F are you doing, you F? And the dog was just ran up to me, he was looking at me and smelling his own off my hand, and I went to rub it And he went, what the hell? And then he went down and he said to him, see what this fella's had to do? And he only lives down the road somewhere. So I was expecting some comeback from him, but I never did. I had to go. Well, I had to try and make my way in, not touch anything, because my hand was full of it. I was trying to wash it, rubber off newspapers that was outside. I made a mess of my hand, but I just lost it.
Now, as a matter of interest, and I'm laughing because I think that's hilarious. Not that I would condone people doing that.
I know. It was a spur of the moment thing.
Yeah, no, I can understand how you got so frustrated. Did he ever allow it to happen again?
I haven't seen him since.
Right.
Now, he let the dog off the leash. Now, I live next to a state-of-the-art park. It's one of the newest parks in Dublin. It cost millions to build. It's Grange Gorman Campus Park.
Oh, I know it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it has on the front and the sides, and it has pictures. Don't let your dog go to the toilet. Our dog's on the leash, and basically every inch of it has been pissed on. You can see the layers of toilet, and when I go jogging down there, I stand in it, and kids have complained because the kids' playgrounds, they let their dogs run about in it, and then when the dog goes to the toilet, the kids stand in it, and when they climb a ladder or such, the next kid comes along and puts their hand in it, right? And having heard, you said something about earlier on that someone said that their dog is clean and they wouldn't have any. Yeah,
that's exactly what she said. Yeah,
they wouldn't say to their child if they put their hand in it, "It's okay."
It's grand.
You wash your hands.
Yeah.
So and I know don't do whatever. What I did, I must say to you, I know there's a poster here where I did it. There's an actual poster, and it has a picture of a dog, and it says there's a fine for littering. And just up here is another one where it's a little boy with poo for eyes. Did you see that poster?
No.
It's a little boy. It's a cartoon boy, and he has a sad face. And it's instead of eyes, it's two swirls of poo, dog poo, and it says this dog poo can blind me. And the stuff you mentioned, the big long bacterial disease thing.
Yes.
That is on it. It says a dog poo contains this and this, and that does be on the bus stops, right? And I remember one time because a friend of mine says, "Look at that, a big pile of dog poo underneath the actual bus stop poster." So people, they know what they're doing. It's just blatant ignorance.
Yeah, I agree. It is the height of ignorance. And like I said, you wouldn't leave loads and loads of dog poo in your own back garden. So why would you leave it in a public place? Let me read a message that just come in, and it says, "It's all over Ringsend. So many walkers don't pick it up. My 1-year-old nephew was in the park and walked into it. It's disgusting. Don't have a dog if you don't pick it up." And one last call, that's you, Sean. You're on 98 FM. How are you, Sean?
How's it going, Adrian? Good morning.
Good, Sean. What did you want to say on this?
I just wanted to say about staff of An Post leaving gates open in the housing areas. They deliver this particular individual delivers the post and then leaves the gates open, which leaves the dogs that are loose into the yards to do their business. And then the owner doesn't know that they've done it. So you have to keep an eye on your gate all the time.
Yeah, no, but it's still not. It is not fair to be blaming the postman for your dog, is it?
Well, I don't have a dog, but I think they should close the gates.
For not closing the gates. Is it their fault?
For not closing the gates. Well, I haven't come across it before where someone just leaves the gate open.
Well, no, okay. You should, far and fished, please close the gates, is the message. All right, thanks very much indeed. And let me just read out a couple more of your messages. We had beside our estate this talking thing of... What the hell? I'm sorry, I can't make head nor tail of that. Tell Adrian, leaving dog poo in your back garden for more than 24 hours can and does attract rats, as rats normally come from sewers and their staple diet is human poo. So dog poo lying around the garden for a few days on end is little. Take it away. Oh, right, okay. That's told me. Get rid of the poo out of my garden. Don't leave it there for a couple of days. And one last message here. Where's it gone? Oh yeah, it would be faster to clean up the dog poo than to ring a radio station to complain. It is disgusting. It is vile. Stop doing it, please. Stop doing it. Here's the ad again.
Dog poo, dog poo, dog poo, dog poo. I have never met anyone who was happy to find it on his shoe. How about you?
Now, there you go. know. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. We're here until midday today. Now, next on the programme, with more and more adults now becoming vegan and vegetarian, it stands to reason that more and more parents are deciding to raise their children on meat-free diets, and in some cases, no meat, no dairy, no nothing. Just plants. But our question is this fair? Is it fair on a child to deny them fish and meat and milk from their diet? A lot of people actually think it's child neglect to deny them meat products just because you follow a meat and dairy-free diet. Well, the reason we mention this is that statistics out today from the UK show how big of an issue this actually is, which found that parents are raising their children as vegan despite their kids wanting to try meat. 13% of parents are now raising their kids as vegetarians. 8% are raising their children as vegan. Let's go to them. And I'd love to hear from you on this on 6797981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Let's go to a vegan parent. Nicole, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Nicole?
How are you keeping?
Now, Nicole, you've 3 children.
I do.
4, 8 and 10. Mm-hmm. And they've pretty much been vegan since you stopped breastfeeding them.
Well, my youngest especially, he's 4, he turned 4 there in May. So he pretty much went from breast milk straight onto plant-based, and we've never looked back. My youngest, my children, they're all vegan 3 years. As I say, he's 4, so I breastfed him up until the 12 months, and he went straight onto plant-based and from there. And my husband is vegan 3 years, and I'm vegan 4.
Okay, and so all of the family are now vegan?
The entire family, yeah.
Okay, now, do you not think you're taking some kind of health risks with your 4-year-old?
Absolutely none. And in fact, with him especially, because he was still in the system in regards, clinic checks and things like that are, for every kid in the country they get. So I was able to see in black and white through his graphs and, his growth percentiles, he steadily climbs. There was nothing that's of any concern to my GP. The kids are thriving.
Okay, so you obviously believe that there is no need for any meat products or milk or cheese or any of those things in your child's diet?
No, but I mean, obviously we're very savvy when it comes to their nutritional requirements, their daily requirements. We cook from home. We do, as much as we can, steer away from processed kind of vegan foods. And, we make seitan from home, which is, a really great meat alternative to bulk up food and things. So there's nothing on a plate that would look, completely alien to how we would have eaten before, or, anything from the norm, any kind of family favourite meal, any occasion, you can duplicate it and you can vegan it up.
Why did you make this decision?
Well, initially, I'm involved in animal rights and in animal welfare as well. I'm a committee member with the Irish Council Against Blood Sports. We have a rescue greyhound from the slaughterhouses in China. He came from Shanghai. So, I mean, to rescue him, from being turned into food for human consumption, or to be skinned for his, for leather, or his fur used for the lining of purses and all of that kind of jazz, to go to the lengths to rescue him from a slaughterhouse, but then to commit the same horrible atrocities to another species just makes no sense. And as well as that, when I was pregnant with my youngest, as I said, we were already vegetarian, but we would have consumed dairy, through cheese predominantly, and through yogurts. And we were already on soy milk and things like that. And but I do remember on my Facebook feed seeing footage of a cow in a dairy slaughterhouse. And, her calf was taken from her in the most gruesome of fashion, and it was all for milk, to rob her breast milk to feed to humans. So it just it ripped the blinkers off. We thought we were doing as much as we can being vegetarian, and we just decided from then that we needed to do more.
Okay, now, that's all fine for you, Nicole, a grown adult. Make your decision yourself to be vegan for whatever your motivations are, and a lot of people support your motivations. But to enforce that motivation onto a 4-year-old child seems to be a bit harsh, is it not?
But it's not to enforce anything. It's just a different approach to how we live. I mean, growing up in how we would, the kind of general look of food and, food items and how animals are used for food, it's part of the culture and it's enforced on the child as it is. You grow up into your family, you eat as they ate, you approach whatever it is, Christmas dinner or any traditions, cultural kind of, milestones in a certain fashion because of how you were brought up, and it's no different. We just choose a different way. They're not lacking in anything. They're not without anything, birthday parties, whatever the occasion may be. They still have the birthday cake and the buns and everything else. We just choose not to use any dairy, no eggs, no gelatin and the jellies, that kind of thing. And it's, the World Health Organization, it's the information that's out there and scientifically proven through the China study and a whole plethora of information. It's been scientifically proven that the consumption of meat and dairy within our diet is doing us no good.
Okay, so you don't believe
factor as well as
you don't believe that you're posing any risk to your children. You don't believe you're affecting their development in any way. What about making them so different to all of their friends?
But that's exactly it. They're not any different. They still have all of the same things, I know, but
if they go to a birthday party and there's chicken nuggets being handed out...
They just divide them. Generally what I do before a birthday party is we'd have a little lunch before they go so they're not starting hungry as well. There's nothing that they are, that they're lacking in, that they feel that they're left out of, that they're ridiculed. It's actually been a point where, just in talking with the families and the mothers and stuff, where they've themselves taken to cooking at home now because they realise, in a lot of ways, taken out the whole element of why we chose to go vegan. But the food is actually tastier, it's fresher, it's exciting, it's getting people back busy in the kitchen, because you're making it from scratch and it's just a different approach all in instead of just going for the norm,
Okay, because I was interested to read earlier on that many parents choosing the vegan option are choosing it for their kids, but more than half of those parents admitted that their children had expressed a desire to eat meat and animal products. Have yours ever?
No, honestly, no. I mean, there's ways, in going about it as well. As I said, there's an awful lot of mock meats that are out there as well. There's the Linda McCartney sausages, there's Tofurkey brand. I mean, you can replicate anything. So much of the corn products now are vegan as well, burgers, and there's our own fabulous now in Ingles right through Ireland of vegan products that are homemade. Through Irish companies like Moodley Manor, and a good friend of mine as well, Lauren, she's behind Buttercream Dreams, so she does all vegan cakes and stuff for any occasion, and there's nothing that's lacking, I know, really,
but a lot will argue that your child has had no choice in the matter.
But any other child has had no choice in what's put in front of them on their dinner table either.
All right, stay there for 1 second, Nicole. I'd love to hear from you on this on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. You've just heard Nicole raising 3 children as vegan. Doesn't believe she's doing any harm to her children whatsoever. In terms of... Sorry, Nicole, just one final question. Mm-hmm. In terms of... I was reading that nutritional deficiencies are quite common for vegans, particularly iron, B12 and iodine. Is that a problem with your children?
No, and as I said as well, we are nutritionally savvy, like anything. Just because a child is on a standard diet where meat and dairy are the norm, and they're given 3 times a day or whatever, it doesn't mean that child is deficient in anything. You still get fussy eaters no matter what way you approach food, and how you live your life. And in fact, the biggest deficiency right across the board is fibre. We don't get enough fibre in general in our diet. This whole thing of the industry push protein. Protein is just another word really for calories. If you eat enough food throughout the day, you are not deficient in protein.
Okay, but stay there for 1 second, because Michael, you find it quite annoying when you hear of parents raising their children vegan. Why?
I don't think they're giving their kids the right nutrients.
Nicole argues she is.
Yeah, just because she says she is doesn't mean she is.
We've been living on meat for a long time, and now coming out and saying that you can give them mock meats, that's like saying I give them cardboard and pretend it's meat. You don't know. There's no nutrients in these mock foods.
Do you want to come over for dinner, Michael?
I'm sure it would be very tasty. But as a kid, growing and needing development for me bones, cartilage, all this kind of things, corn isn't going to develop me cartilage, me bones, me brain matter, all the stuff that needs to go. Our bodies are developed from what we've eaten for thousands of years, and what we've eaten is meat. And that's what
we are now is the generation that we have seen the ripple effect of how our approach to food has had a detrimental effect on our health. Our generation now, our mothers, our grandparents, are the generation of knee and hip replacements because of the influx of dairy into our system.
That's not from meat. That's from eating processed foods. That's from eating.
No, it's not. It's from dairy because
no, it's not from dairy. Raw dairy doesn't do that. Raw dairy is a superfood.
Dairy actually increases the mucus. The first thing a GP will say to you if you have a head cold and you go to your GP is cut out dairy. Why? Because it creates a mucus.
That's very that's pasteurised dairy. It's proven
very acidic. No, it's not. Well, I'd advise you to go back and look at things like what the hell. Likewise.
No, I don't, because pasteurised dairy and raw dairy are two very different things.
Do you eat raw dairy?
I do, yeah. I buy it in Kilcool out in Wicklow.
What about it?
It's very, very healthy for you. It's completely different. You pasteurise the milk, you kill off all the nutrients, you change the protein structure, you change the structure of the calcium, you kill off all the enzymes and the probiotics which your body needs to help you digest and utilise it all.
Cow's milk is the perfect component to turn a calf into a full-grown cow as quick as possible. It's not for humans. We don't drink giraffe milk. We don't drink cab milk.
Drinking raw milk for thousands of years.
But that was only out of convenience. Now we have the convenience of plant-based milks. Try it. Just try it. Have an open mind and try it.
Soy shrinks testicles. Soya shrinks boys' testicles.
That's absolute nonsense.
No, that's scientifically proven.
Look back on
scientifically proven.
Michael, the studies that were actually done, look back on who funded them, and I guarantee you the funding behind studies like that are the meat and dairy and egg industry.
No, they're not. Soy is scientifically proven.
Michael, it's online. Go and Google.
I can read, I can Google. Okay, soy is proven to shrink boys' testicles. It raises estrogen. It's toxic.
If you don't like soy, there's a million different other versions. There's cashew, there's almond, there's coconut.
If you put soy into your small boys, you're going to feminise them.
Really?
They're not going to develop properly. They won't develop properly. It's scientifically proven.
But you have no problem with feeding your children meat that is full of hormones, growth hormones, antibiotics.
Organic meat's not. Irish meat is very good, by the way. We have standards here.
Let me ask you, Michael, let me ask you.
They still end up in the slaughterhouse.
Michael, do you think there is a cruel aspect to raising a child as vegan?
I think it's I don't want to say cruel, because I don't believe parents are being intentionally cruel. I think they're being foolish.
Okay, stay there for 1 second.
I think they're doing the right thing, but they're not.
Okay, huge reaction to this. Stay there for 1 second. He thinks parents who are raising their children as vegan are being foolish. Nicole is raising 3 kids as vegan. I'll be talking to another lady after the break who believes that it is a disgrace. We're back in a second.
98 FM's Dublin Talks.
With Des Kelly Interiors. New carpets fitted in time for Christmas. DesKelly.ie.
98 FM.
We're in the middle of a conversation about raising children as vegan. 13% are now raising their children as vegetarian. 8% are raising their children as vegan, which means absolutely zero animal products, dairy products, fish, anything. Nothing whatsoever. Liz, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Adrian.
Now, Liz, you believe that this is a disgraceful decision to raise children as vegan. Why?
I do, especially in the cases where a child is asking to try me. I think to enforce your lifestyle on your child is wrong. And I think so many vegans need supplements, vitamin supplements and other nutrient supplements to help that lifestyle because they're not getting it in the food they eat. So why inflict that on your child? You know, especially young children.
I would have thought
when they're becoming teenagers and a child chooses, okay, they've learned this and that about how the animal ends up on your plate. and they decide they don't want it, that's fine, fair enough. But I think inflicting it on your child is wrong.
But I would imagine Nicole would strongly disagree that she's inflicting anything on anybody. Would you, Nicole?
Hi, Liz. Just what you said there in relation to, the children being aware. I mean, my oldest two are 8 and 10, and they are very much aware. Obviously, in child-friendly terms, we would never set our kids down in front of any footage. That would hurt their heart.
You said none of your children have asked to try meat or any meat products, and that's fine. But on Facebook, when they put the thing on Facebook, that's what I said. There's so many parents, even if their children have asked to try meat products. And I think that's wrong, to deny a child when they want to try it.
Personally, that's not our situation at all. Our children are actually, in their own little way, they're little activists already. I mean, they've attended,
and that's great.
Certain things like Veg Fest with us and stuff, where I've spoken at before publicly and done lecture spots at Veg Fest in Cork and in Dublin. And, but as with any approach to food for children, especially because they are growing, and when they are infants, when they are, in young adolescent age as well, when their bones are developing and everything, you have to be conscious of what you put into your children, regardless of how you choose to live your life. And an awful lot of parents just kind of think, we'll just do it this way, it's the norm, and they're missing out.
And I agree in the sense that a lot of parents just do it because that's what they feel is the norm. But as I said, my issue would be where your child is saying, well, I'd like to try this or I'd like to try that, and they're being told no simply because their parents won't cook meat or won't have anything
and
to do with
animal products. Liz, do you believe that makes these children stand out?
No, not so much that it makes them stand out. Unless you're going publicising, I don't allow my child to eat meat, it's not going to make much of a muchness. You know what I mean? Who knows what you're putting on your table unless you tell everybody? You know what I mean? So I don't see it as like making your child stand out or anything like that. I don't see why you'd curb their diet and then pump them full of supplements, which a lot of people have to do.
Okay, Nicole, with your 4-year-old, does your 4-year-old have to take any supplements?
The only supplement that you need as a vegan is B12. B12 is actually found, its natural origin is in soil. When animals graze, they ingest that through the soil as they graze. Animals can store it in their muscles. Humans can't, which is why we need it, because we don't have a store for it within our systems, right? Vegans take that either through a spray you can spray inside your cheek or through nutritional yeast, which comes in a flake form. It's really tasty. It's a natural thickener for sauces as well. There's loads of benefits to it. It's a cheese replacer for the top of pasta. It goes with everything. It's fabulous. My kids actually take it by themselves.
Which is great. It's great if you've embraced the lifestyle, but I do
but you have to, and especially as a parent, it is your job.
Veganism is not. For an awful lot of people, it's a fad. It's a real.
Listen, process is process. If you're living your life on processed food, boxed and not choosing to cook from home, no matter.
I agree with you. That's no better. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't agree that. Just a healthy, balanced lifestyle is the way to go. Do you know?
So as far as you're concerned,
it's not plant-based or it's not just meat-based.
I think you're slightly. Can I just add before we get cut off? I think you're slightly just misinformed in relation to the. You're thinking of you have to sit down and have 20 supplements and vitamins every single day in order to pick it up.
I'm not thinking of it like that. I'm just saying I do.
That is the only thing.
There are a lot of vegans who need to pump themselves with different supplements because they're not.
Okay, but what Nicole is saying quite clearly is the only supplement your children have to take is B12. That's it.
And in relation to, obviously this time of year, regardless of how we ate, personally, me, even growing up as a kid when I was vegetarian, we always had, and at times, when we had fish and we had eggs and dairy, I still, this time of year, especially it's flu season, I always top my kids up with a multivitamin, and it's something that we still do now. That's just being health conscious, it's being a step ahead and making sure your kids don't feel ill.
Okay, one final, another question is, do any of their friends ever take the mick out of them?
Actually, what's happened in a lot of occasions is the kids are curious and they want to try the food. That's what's the majority of time. I mean, it's not, maybe it's just a group of kids as well, and it's their age. Kids don't really look at that. And there's an awful lot of families as well that have chosen to go plant-based, to go vegan, because their kids have inspired them to do it. Kids look at the world through their hearts. If they understand, a cow loses its life in order to be turned into that steak or that mince for our spaghetti, and I'm not eating it anymore. We've all seen those clips on YouTube. Personally, I'm not going to put my children in that position where I'm going to video them crying their heart out, sitting over, a chicken's head or something. It's just not my approach to life in general. I don't do that. But I have seen those clips where, a child all of a sudden is looking at a fish about to get its head chopped off, or, a chicken about to be slaughtered, and they cry, and the parents are saying, okay, well, we won't do it anymore. And they inspire them because children see compassion. We don't bring our children through a slaughterhouse for tours.
Yes, no,
we don't let them see the reality.
That's fine. Although somebody on this show a couple of months ago was arguing that we should. Steve, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Steve.
How's it going, Adrian?
Good, Steve. What did you want to say on this?
That other lady had on, not the vegan girl, the other lady was like, I don't feel like you should be pushing your beliefs and stuff like that onto your children. Like, we eat meat in our house, but I call milk isn't milk. Milk is baby calf growth formula. That's what that other lady is right. Milk is to turn a weak little calf into a strong fat cow. That's what milk is for, simple as. And the other lady saying that you shouldn't be pushing your beliefs onto your children and make them eat meat. Does she have her children baptised, and did she baptise her children?
Yes, and in other words, the point being that we all instill our beliefs into our children. Let me just bring in one last call, and that's you, Connor. You're on 98 FM. Hi, Connor.
Adrian, how's it going?
Good, thank you, Connor. It always creates debate about whether or not it is appropriate to raise children.
Before, haven't we?
We have. Whether it's appropriate to raise children as vegan. What did you want to say? Very quickly.
No doubt whatsoever. That girl there, a minute ago, and good on her, she echoes everything I said, Adrian, as you've known me before with this and things similar and any cruelty to animals. It's fact. B12, plant milk has B12. Plants in the ground, it comes from plants, everything. What's the protein in meat? It's from plants, because the animals are vegetarian, for God's sake. And they're easy to herd. That's why, why not herd up lions and tigers? They'll eat the hell out of you, and they won't. You couldn't herd them, and they're natural carnivores.
Okay, you believe it is that more parents should be doing this?
Yeah.
All right, Connor, I'm really sorry for cutting across you for the amount of time, but thanks very much indeed for your call, and thank you, all of you, for your calls. It is something that is becoming more and more popular. 8% of kids now being raised as vegan, and that's a figure that will probably continue to increase over the next couple of years. And Nicole, thank you for talking to us as well. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. And that's it from us for today. Thank you for joining us. Back with you again 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Barry Dunn is live after 12, and in the next hour he's got some great music lined up like these.
Together for a few years, shed a few tears, called each other nickname like Sugar Plum and Pooh Bear.
98 FM's Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors, delivering your new bed in time for Christmas. DesKelly.ie.
98 FM.